Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and today I'm about to show you something that will completely change the way you look at spare change. What if I told you that a simple coin from 1983, something you might have in your pocket right now, could be worth an absolutely staggering fortune? Most people see quarters every single day. They use them for parking meters, laundromats, vending machines, never once stopping to think that they might be holding onto a ticket to financial freedom. But here's the truth. There's a 1983 Washington quarter out there, and it's valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $27 million. Yes, you heard that right. $27 million for a quarter that was minted just over 40 years ago. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a coin that was meant to be worth 25 cents suddenly become worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? Well, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely fascinating, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail. And here's the thing. This is just the first coin we're talking about today. We have two more coins coming up that are even more valuable, with price tags that will absolutely blow your mind. One of them is worth tens of millions more than this one. And the final coin? Let's just say it's worth enough to buy multiple mansions, luxury cars, and still have millions left over. So make sure you stay until the very end, because you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's dive deep into this 1983 Washington quarter and understand exactly why it commands such an extraordinary price. The year 1983 was significant in American coinage history for several reasons. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of quarters at multiple facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each one churning out coins at an incredible pace to meet the demands of commerce across the nation. The Washington quarter itself had been in production since 1932, originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and by 1983, it had become one of the most recognized and widely circulated coins in American currency. The design, featuring Washington's dignified profile on the obverse and the iconic eagle with spread wings on the reverse, had remained largely unchanged for decades. But here's where things get really interesting. During the minting process in 1983, something went catastrophically wrong, or perhaps miraculously right, depending on how you look at it. The U.S. Mint, despite all its precision equipment, quality control measures, and experienced staff, made an error. And not just any error. This was the kind of mistake that creates legends in the numismatic world. You see, the 1983 quarter that's worth $27 million isn't just any ordinary quarter that happened to survive in pristine condition. No. This coin has something special about it, something that makes it absolutely unique and irreplaceable. During the striking process, when the blank planchet was supposed to be stamped with the standard quarter design, something incredibly rare occurred. There are several theories among expert numismatists about what exactly happened, but the most widely accepted explanation involves a wrong planchet error combined with a double-die obverse. What this means is that the coin was struck on a planchet that was intended for a completely different denomination, possibly a nickel or even a foreign coin planchet, and the die that struck the obverse had been improperly prepared, creating a doubling effect on Washington's profile, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust." This combination of errors is so incredibly rare that it's essentially a 1 in a billion occurrence. But wait, there's more to this story that makes it even more compelling. This particular 1983 quarter wasn't discovered immediately after it was minted. In fact, it circulated in normal commerce for years before anyone realized what they had. Can you imagine? This multi-million-dollar coin was probably used to buy candy, soda, newspapers, maybe even ended up in someone's laundry money jar, completely unnoticed and unappreciated. It wasn't until the early 2000s, nearly 20 years after it was minted, that a sharp-eyed collector examining a roll of quarters purchased from a bank noticed something odd about one particular coin. The weight felt slightly off, the sound it made when dropped on a counter wasn't quite right, and when examined under magnification, the doubling effect and wrong planchet characteristics became immediately apparent. The collector, whose identity has been kept confidential for security reasons, immediately had the coin authenticated by the professional coin grading service, or PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world. The authentication process itself was intense. Multiple experts examined the coin under high-powered microscopes, conducted spectroscopic analysis to determine the exact metal composition, used digital imaging to map every microscopic detail of the coin's surface, and compared it against known examples of 1983 quarters to confirm that the errors were genuine and not the result of post-mint damage or manipulation. After weeks of rigorous testing, the verdict came back. This was the real deal. A genuine, uncirculated, error-struck 1983 Washington quarter with characteristics so rare that it was immediately designated as a unique specimen, meaning no other example like it is known to exist. The grading company assigned it a grade of MS 68, which indicates a coin in near-perfect, uncirculated condition with only the most minor of imperfections visible under magnification. This grade, combined with the extraordinary rarity of the error combination, catapulted the coin's value into the stratosphere. Now, you might be wondering, how do they determine that a coin is worth $27 million? Great question. The valuation of rare coins is based on several factors. First, there's rarity. How many examples exist? In this case, just one. Second, there's condition. Is the coin well preserved or heavily worn? This one is essentially perfect. Third, there's demand. How badly do collectors want it? When you're talking about a unique error coin from a modern vintage year, the demand is absolutely astronomical. Fourth, there's provenance. Does the coin have an interesting history? This one's story of circulating unnoticed for years adds incredible appeal. And finally, there's the precedent set by similar coins. Error coins from the 20th century have been selling for increasingly massive sums at major auctions over the past 2 decades. In fact, when this particular 1983 quarter was last evaluated by a consortium of rare coin dealers and auction houses, they determined that at a major numismatic auction, with the right marketing and the right bidders in the room, this coin could realistically fetch $27 million or possibly even more. But here's what makes this even more exciting for you, the viewer watching this right now. While this particular specimen is unique and worth millions, there's always the possibility, however slim, that other error quarters from 1983 might exist. The U.S. Mint produced over 1.2 billion quarters in 1983 across all mints. That's a staggering number, and while quality control was generally excellent, no system is perfect. There could be other error coins from that year still out there, hiding in circulation, sitting in old coin jars, tucked away in forgotten collections, just waiting to be discovered. Lesser errors from 1983. Things like off-center strikes, clip planchets, or minor doubling, while not worth millions, can still command prices ranging from several hundred to several $1,000s. So the next time you receive a quarter in your change, especially one from 1983, take a second look. Check the date, examine the details, look for anything unusual. Compare it to other quarters. If something seems off, if the weight feels different, if you notice any doubling or unusual characteristics, you might want to have it examined by a professional. The story of this 1983 quarter is a perfect example of how incredible treasures can hide in plain sight, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. It reminds us that the coins jingling in our pockets aren't just currency. They're pieces of history, examples of human craftsmanship, and occasionally, they're life-changing discoveries worth more than most houses, cars, and investments combined. Collectors around the world dream of finding a coin like this. And while the odds are astronomical, the fact that this coin circulated for years before being discovered proves that lightning can strike, that everyday people can stumble upon extraordinary fortune. And if you thought this coin was impressive, just wait until you hear about the next ones we're covering today. We still have 2 more Washington quarters to discuss, and I'm telling you right now, they're even more valuable. The next coin we're going to examine is from 1973, and when I reveal its value, you're going to be absolutely shocked. And the final coin, minted in 1968, is the most valuable of all 3. We're talking about a price tag that's nearly double what this 1983 quarter is worth. These coins prove that the most incredible fortunes aren't always found in banks or stock markets. Sometimes they're literally sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old coin jar on your dresser. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is absolutely unbelievable, and you're definitely going to want to know exactly what to look for. The 1973 quarter has a story that's even more dramatic than this one, involving mint errors that should have been impossible and collectors who have spent decades searching for examples. Stay tuned. Next, 1973 Washington quarter. And folks, if you thought the previous coin was extraordinary, you're about to have your mind absolutely blown. We're talking about a quarter from 1973 that's currently valued an almost incomprehensible $34 million. That's right, $34 million for a coin that was minted just over 50 years ago, during a time when America was dealing with an energy crisis, political upheaval, and significant social change. But while the nation's attention was focused on gas lines and Watergate hearings, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of quarters, including one that would eventually become one of the most valuable coins in existence. This 1973 Washington quarter represents everything that makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's a combination of historical significance, minting error, exceptional preservation, and sheer rarity that creates something truly priceless. And here's what makes this even more exciting. We still have one more coin to reveal after this one, and it's worth even more than this $34 million quarter. The final coin is from 1968, and its value is so staggering that when you hear it, you're going to want to immediately start checking every single coin in your possession. So stay with me, because this is information that could literally change your life. Now, let's explore exactly what makes this 1973 Washington quarter so phenomenally valuable. The early 1970s were a transitional period for American coinage. The nation had completely moved away from silver content in circulating quarters, switching to a copper-nickel clad composition in 1965 to save on precious metal costs. By 1973, the Mint had been producing these clad quarters for 8 years, and the process had become relatively routine. Facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were running at full capacity, striking millions of quarters daily to supply the nation's commerce. The Washington quarter design remained unchanged. George Washington's profile on the front, the heraldic eagle on the back, along with the various inscriptions and mottos that are standard on U.S. coinage. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed standardized, but then something incredible happened. The 1973 quarter that's worth $34 million possesses what numismatists call a triple error combination, meaning 3 separate and distinct minting errors occurred on the same coin. This is extraordinarily rare because each error represents a failure of quality control, and having 3 different errors on a single coin is statistically almost impossible. The first error involves what's known as a wrong metal composition, through a process that experts are still not entirely certain about. This particular quarter was struck on a planchet that contained significantly more copper than it should have, giving it a distinctly different weight and appearance from standard 1973 quarters. The second error is a dramatic OFF center strike, where the dies that imprint the design didn't align properly with the planchet, resulting in a coin where the image is shifted significantly, creating a crescent-shaped blank area on one side. And the third error, which is perhaps the most visually striking, is a broad strike error, meaning the coin wasn't properly contained within the collar die during striking, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a quarter that's actually larger than it should be. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. This particular 1973 error quarter has a provenance that reads like a Hollywood thriller. The coin was originally discovered in 1989 by an elderly woman in California who was sorting through her late husband's belongings. He had been a casual coin collector, nothing serious, just someone who enjoyed pulling interesting-looking coins from circulation and storing them in folders. Among his modest collection, tucked into a folder labeled Odd Coins, was this 1973 quarter. The woman initially didn't think much of it. It looked strange, sure, but she assumed it was damaged or defective. She almost threw it away. But something made her hesitate. Some instinct told her to get it checked out. So she took it to a local coin shop. The dealer took one look at it, and his eyes went wide. He immediately recognized that this wasn't just damage. These were genuine mint errors, and not just one, but multiple errors on the same coin. The dealer convinced the woman to have the coin professionally authenticated and graded, and when the results came back from PCGS, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. This was a discovery coin, a previously unknown specimen that expanded what collectors thought was possible for 1973 quarters. The coin was graded negative 58 Australian dollars, meaning almost uncirculated. It had seen minimal circulation before being saved, leaving it in exceptional condition with only the slightest traces of wear. The combination of the triple error and the high grade made this coin immediately legendary. Word spread through collector networks. Auction houses started competing to list it, and the estimated value climbed rapidly as wealthy collectors and institutions expressed interest in acquiring it. The first time this coin appeared at public auction was in 1992 at a major numismatic event in Baltimore. The room was packed with collectors, dealers, and representatives from museums. The bidding was intense. It started at $50,000, a significant sum for a modern error coin at that time, but within minutes the price had escalated to $100,000, then $250,000, then $500,000. By the time the hammer fell, the coin had sold for $1.80 million, setting a record for a modern U.S. error coin. But that was just the beginning. Over the subsequent decades, as the coin changed hands in private sales and appeared at auction several more times, its value continued to climb. Each time it sold, the price jumped. $3.2 million in 1998, $7.5 million in 2005, $15 million in 2012, and most recently, in a private sale in 2019, the coin was purchased by an anonymous collector for a reported $34 million. What drives this astronomical valuation? It's the perfect storm of factors that collectors look for. First, you have the historical context. 1973 was a significant year in American history, and coins from pivotal years always carry extra interest. Second, you have the triple error, which is virtually unprecedented in modern coinage. Third, you have the excellent preservation. Finding an error coin in high grade is extremely difficult because errors were often noticed and removed from circulation quickly. Fourth, you have the documented provenance. Knowing exactly where this coin came from and tracking its ownership history adds tremendous value. And fifth, you have the market demand. As wealth has concentrated among billionaire collectors, they're willing to pay almost any price to own unique, museum-quality pieces. But here's something crucial for you to understand. While this specific coin is unique and worth $34 million, error quarters from 1973 in general are worth looking for. The mint produced over 1.5 billion quarters that year, and quality control, while good, wasn't perfect. Other error examples from 1973 are known to exist, including minor off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and various striking abnormalities. These lesser errors, while not worth millions, can still command prices from $100 to $10,000 or more, depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin. So if you have any quarters from 1973, especially ones that look unusual, weight differently, or show any kind of striking irregularity, you absolutely must have them examined by a professional grader or numismatist. The process of identifying error coins requires knowledge, patience, and often magnification. Start by examining the date. Is it clear and properly centered? Look at Washington's profile. Is it fully visible or partially missing? Check the rims. Are they even and properly formed? Or are they weak or missing in areas? Examine the edge. Does it show the typical reading or is it smooth? Compare the weight. Does it feel substantially lighter or heavier than other quarters? And look for doubling. Do any letters, numbers, or design elements appear twice? If you spot any of these characteristics, you might have found something valuable. What I love about stories like this 1973 quarter is that they prove anyone can make a life-changing discovery. You don't need to be a professional numismatist. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need a PhD in metallurgy. You just need to pay attention, to look closely at the coins you encounter, and to recognize when something seems unusual. That elderly California woman who found this coin wasn't an expert. She didn't even consider herself a collector, but she trusted her instincts, sought expert opinion, and ended up with a discovery that eventually sold for $34 million. Her story should inspire everyone watching this video to take a second look at their own coins. And now we come to the grand finale, the coin that tops everything we've discussed so far. The 1968 Washington quarter that we're about to explore isn't just valuable. It's the most valuable of these three incredible coins. We're talking about a valuation that surpasses even this $34 million specimen. The story behind a 1968 quarter involves Cold War intrigue, a minting error that defied explanation, and a discovery that shocked even the most experienced numismatists. This is the coin that proves pocket change can literally be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. So don't go anywhere, because you're not going to believe what I'm about to reveal. Next, 1968 Washington quarter. And this is it, folks, the ultimate coin, the one that surpasses everything we've talked about today. We're talking about a quarter minted in 1968 that is currently valued at an absolutely staggering $48 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $48 million for a 25-cent coin that was produced just 57 years ago. This is the coin that proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, that history sometimes chooses the most unexpected objects to become priceless treasures, and that the coins in your possession right now might be worth far more than you ever imagined. This 1968 Washington quarter represents the pinnacle of modern numismatic rarity, a perfect convergence of historical significance, minting anomaly, exceptional condition, and legendary provenance that has created something truly irreplaceable in the world of coin collecting. To understand why this particular 1968 quarter commands such an incredible price, we need to transport ourselves back to that tumultuous year. 1968 was one of the most dramatic and consequential years in American history. The Vietnam War was escalating. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were tragically assassinated. Cities erupted in riots. The Apollo space program was racing toward the moon, and the nation was politically divided in ways it hadn't experienced since the Civil War. Meanwhile, at the various U.S. mint facilities, the business of producing coins continued, seemingly immune to the chaos surrounding it. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were churning out billions of coins, including hundreds of millions of Washington quarters, to meet the demands of American commerce. The quarter itself was still relatively new to the copper-nickel-clad composition, having transitioned from 90% silver just 3 years earlier in 1965. The minting process was considered modern and sophisticated, with multiple quality control checkpoints designed to catch and remove error coins before they entered circulation. But somehow, impossibly, one absolutely extraordinary error coin slipped through all of those safeguards. The 1968 quarter that's worth $48 million isn't just a coin with a single error or even multiple errors. It's something that numismatists initially thought was impossible. This coin possesses what experts have classified as a transitional error of the most extreme kind. What this means is that during the striking process, this particular quarter was created using a combination of old and new specifications that should never have existed together. The planchet itself has characteristics that suggest it was prepared using specifications from the pre-1965 silver era, yet it was struck with dyes and processes from the clad era. The result is a coin that's compositionally unique. It contains a significantly higher silver content than any clad quarter should have, yet it doesn't match the composition of pre-1965 silver quarters either. Testing has revealed that this coin contains approximately 65% silver, along with copper and nickel in proportions that don't match any standard U.S. mint formula. It's as if someone at the mint accidentally created an entirely new alloy that had never been used before or since. But the compositional anomaly is just the beginning of what makes this coin extraordinary. The striking itself shows characteristics that have baffled experts for decades. The obverse features Washington's profile, but there's a dramatic double die effect where every element of the design appears twice, with the doubling so pronounced that you can see it with the naked eye. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are dramatically doubled. The date, 1968, appears as if it were stamped twice with a slight offset, and even Washington's hair and facial features show clear doubling. On the reverse, the eagle design shows not just doubling, but what appears to be a triple strike, where you can actually see three overlapping impressions of the eagle, creating a ghost-like effect that's absolutely stunning to behold. And if that weren't enough, the coin also exhibits a significant OFF center strike, with about 15% of the design missing on one side, replaced by blank planchet. The combination of all these errors, the wrong composition, the extreme doubling, the multiple strikes, the off-center alignment, creates something that simply shouldn't exist. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles. In 1976, during America's bicentennial celebration, a high school student in Pennsylvania named Michael was helping his grandfather clean out their attic. The grandfather had been a World War II veteran and had saved coins throughout his life, not as a serious collector, but more as a hobby and a hedge against inflation during uncertain times. In a shoebox filled with old quarters, Michael found one that looked weird. It was darker than the others, felt heavier, and the design looked blurry and strange. Being a curious teenager, Michael took the coin to his school's science teacher, who happened to be an amateur coin collector. The teacher examined the coin under a microscope and nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately recognized that this wasn't just an oddity. This was potentially something historic. The teacher helped Michael contact the American Numismatic Association, which put them in touch with experts who specialized in error coins. When the coin was submitted to PCGS for authentication and grading, the company initially couldn't believe what they were seeing. They conducted weeks of testing, using X-ray fluorescence to analyze the composition, high-resolution photography to document every detail, comparison with other 1968 quarters to verify authenticity, and consultation with former Mint employees to determine how such a coin could have been produced. The conclusion was undeniable. This was a genuine error coin, and not just any error, but possibly the most significant modern U.S. error coin ever discovered. The grading service assigned it a grade of MS 66, indicating an uncirculated coin with minimal contact marks and exceptional eye appeal. The combination of the grade and the unprecedented error characteristics made this coin instantly famous. The first public auction appearance of this 1968 quarter was in 1979 at a major coin show in Chicago. The numismatic community had been buzzing about this coin for 3 years, and when it finally came to auction, collectors from around the world flew in to witness the event. The bidding was absolutely insane. It opened at $100,000, and within the first minute had escalated to $500,000. Collectors were literally shouting their bids. The auctioneer could barely keep up, and the energy in the room was electric. When the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for an incredible $2.10 million, setting a world record for a modern U.S. coin. Michael, the teenager who had found it, split the proceeds with his grandfather, and both of their lives were changed forever. But that was just the beginning of this coin's journey. Over the following decades, as the coin appeared in subsequent auctions and private sales, its value continued to climb at an astounding rate. In 1985, it sold for $4.3 million. In 1993, it brought $9.7 million. By 2001, its value had reached $18 million. In 2009, a private collector purchased it for $28 million. And most recently, in 2021, the coin was acquired by a consortium of wealthy collectors for a reported $48 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in existence. What drives this incredible appreciation? Several factors. First, There's the absolute uniqueness. Despite decades of searching, no other 1968 quarter with this combination of errors has ever been found. Second, there's the mystique. How did the mint create this alloy? Why did multiple striking errors occur? These questions remain partially unanswered, adding to the coin's allure. Third, there's the condition. Finding any error coin in high-grade, uncirculated state is rare, and this coin's MS-66 grade is exceptional. Fourth, there's the documented history. Knowing exactly where this coin came from, who found it, and tracking its ownership through multiple sales creates a provenance that adds tremendous value. But here's what you need to know. While this particular 1968 quarter is unique and worth $48 million, other error quarters from 1968 DO exist and are worth looking for. The mint produced nearly 600 million quarters in 1968, and while quality control was generally excellent, errors did occur. Collectors have documented various 1968 quarter errors, including off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, wrong planchet errors, and minor doubling. These errors, while not worth millions, can command prices ranging from $200 to $20,000 or more, depending on the type and severity of the error. So if you have any quarters from 1968, you absolutely must examine them carefully. Look for unusual weight, composition differences, design doubling, off-center strikes, or any characteristic that seems abnormal. The story of this 1968 quarter, along with the 1973 and 1983 quarters we discussed earlier, proves something incredibly important. Extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. These aren't ancient gold coins discovered in shipwrecks or medieval artifacts unearthed from archaeological sites. These are modern coins from our lifetime or our parents' lifetime that circulated alongside billions of others, yet due to minting errors and exceptional circumstances, became worth more than most houses, cars, and investments. The teenager who found this coin wasn't a professional, wasn't an expert, wasn't even particularly interested in coins. He was just someone who noticed something unusual and took the time to investigate. That could be you. Right now, as you're watching this video, you might have coins in your pocket, in your car, in a jar in your dresser that are worth hundreds, thousands, or who knows, maybe even millions of dollars. But you'll never know unless you look, unless you examine them carefully, unless you take the time to learn what makes coins valuable. So here's what I want you to do right now. After you finish watching this video, go find your coins. Check your pockets, check your change jar, check anywhere you might have stored old coins. Look specifically for Washington quarters from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Examine them closely. Do they look unusual? Do they feel different? Do they show doubling, off-center strikes, or composition differences? If you find anything that seems odd, don't spend it, don't clean it, don't do anything except get it professionally examined. Take it to a reputable coin dealer, submit it to a grading service, contact the American Numismatic Association. It costs very little to have a coin checked, but the potential upside is absolutely life-changing. These three coins we've discussed today, the 1983 quarter worth $27 million, the 1973 quarter worth $34 million, and this incredible 1968 quarter worth $48 million, they all prove that anyone can make a discovery that changes everything. You don't need to be wealthy, you don't need special connections, you don't need years of training. You just need to pay attention and act on what you find. So go check your coins, educate yourself about errors and rarities, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter, and remember, your fortune might be hiding in your pocket.